The galactic stage. In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, countless civilizations had risen and fallen over millennia. By the year 2750, humanity had finally taken its place among the stars, joining the intricate dance of galactic politics. The Terran Confederation, as Earth and its colonies were known, occupied a unique position in the cosmic arena. Humanity's reputation preceded them across the stars. They were known as skilled traders, innovative problem solvers, and above all, an enigma. For while most species specialized in particular fields, the Zarquin in bioengineering, the Volfuri in energy manipulation, humans seemed to dabble in everything, mastering none but competent in all. This jack-of-all-trades approach had initially been met with amusement by the older races. The Galactic Council, a loose coalition of the most powerful species, had patronizingly welcomed humanity into their ranks, expecting little beyond novelty goods and entertaining anecdotes. But as decades passed, a subtle shift occurred. Human traders began to outmaneuver even the shrewdest Volfuri negotiators. Terran scientists, collaborating across multiple fields, made breakthroughs that left single-discipline alien researchers baffled. And most intriguingly, human diplomatic corps navigated the treacherous waters of interspecies politics with a finesse that belied their species' youth. Admiral Ilara Chen stood on the bridge of the TCS Horizon, Earth's newest and most advanced diplomatic vessel. As it glided into orbit around Nexus Prime, the artificial world that served as the Galactic Council's headquarters, she couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. The Horizon was a testament to human ingenuity, a harmonious blend of technologies inspired by a dozen alien races, but unmistakably Terran in its execution. Admiral, her XO, Commander Raj Patel, approached with a data pad. The Galactic Council has acknowledged our arrival. They've granted us landing clearance for the main concourse. Ilara nodded, her dark eyes scanning the swirling clouds of Nexus Prime below. Any word on the emergency session? Raj shook his head. Nothing official, but rumors are flying. The Zarquin delegation seemed particularly agitated when they arrived. A frown creased Ilara's forehead. The Zarquin, with their hive-mind consciousness, were usually the picture of calm efficiency. For them to show visible agitation, something big was brewing. As the Horizon began its descent, Ilara reflected on humanity's journey to this point. Earth had made first contact just over a century ago, encountering a Volfuri survey ship at the edge of the solar system. The shock of realizing they weren't alone in the universe had initially paralyzed humanity, but true to form, they had adapted quickly. The first decades had been a whirlwind of technological exchange, cultural assimilation, and rapid expansion. Humans, it turned out, were uniquely suited for life among the stars. Their adaptability, creativity, and inexhaustible curiosity made them excellent colonists. Within 50 years, Terran colonies dotted dozens of systems. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. As humanity expanded, they encountered the complex web of alliances, rivalries, and ancient grudges that defined galactic politics. The Volfuri and Zarquin, for instance, had been locked in a cold war for millennia over opposing philosophies of consciousness. The militant Prodarians viewed all other species as potential slaves or threats to be eliminated, and beneath it all, whispers persisted of ancient, slumbering races whose technologies had shaped the very fabric of the galaxy. Humanity had chosen a path of cautious neutrality, focusing on trade and cultural exchange rather than military might. It was a stance that had served them well so far, but Ilara often wondered how long it could last. The Horizon touched down with barely a tremor, a testament to its advanced inertial dampeners. As Ilara and her team prepared to disembark, a priority message flashed across her neural link. Admiral. It was Fleet Admiral Yamamoto, the head of the Terran Space Force. We've just received intelligence that changes everything. The Crodarians have launched a massive offensive against the Zarquin core worlds. Early reports suggest planet-killing weapons. Ilara felt her blood run cold. The use of planet killers had been taboo for eons, outlawed by galactic convention. For the Crodarians to employ them now, there's more, Yamamoto continued, his holographic form looking grim. We have reason to believe the Volthuri knew about this attack in advance. They're claiming neutrality, but they're letting their ancient rivals be decimated. Ilara finished the thought. This could reshape the entire balance of power in the galaxy. Yamamoto nodded. Exactly. The Terran Security Council is convening as we speak. Your mission at the Galactic Council just became critical, Admiral. We need to know where every major power stands, and we need options. The neutrality we've maintained for a century, it may no longer be viable. As the transmission ended, Ilara took a deep breath, centering herself. Outside the horizon's hull, the glittering spires of Nexus Prime beckoned. In conference rooms and back channels, throughout that maze of alien architecture, the fate of civilizations would be decided. Well, she said to Raid, who had been respectfully silent during her call, it seems we've arrived just in time for the storm. Let's hope humanity is ready for what comes next. As they stepped off the ship and into the controlled atmosphere of Nexus Prime, Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Humanity had been content to be the galaxy's quick-learning youngster, but events were conspiring to thrust them onto center stage. The sleeping giant, it seemed, was about to be rudely awakened. The catalyst. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with tension. Representatives from 100 species filled the tiered seating, their whispers and telepathic communications creating a cacophony of anxiety. Admiral Ilara Chen sat with the human delegation, her face a mask of calm that belied her inner turmoil. At the center of the hall, a holographic display showed the unfolding tragedy. The Zarquin homeworld, Hive Prime, was under assault. Crodarian warships swarmed the system, their weapons tearing through defensive lines with terrifying efficiency, but it was the massive, sphere-like object at the fleet's center that drew all eyes. The Worldbreaker, murmured Ambassador Zixara, the Volthuri representative seated near Ilara. Her crystalline form shimmered with what might have been excitement. We thought it was just a legend. Ilara fought to keep her expression neutral. The Volthuri's lack of concern for that ancient rival's plight was telling. She made a mental note to relay this to Earth's leadership. The assembly fell silent as High Counselor Vexalia, a Meridian, one of the oldest races in the galaxy, took the central platform. Her ethereal form pulsed with barely contained fury. Members of the Galactic Council, her voice resonated through the hall. We stand at the precipice of chaos. The Crodarian Empire has violated our most sacred laws. The deployment of a planet-killer weapon threatens the very fabric of our civilization. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, but Ilara noticed several delegations remained conspicuously silent. We must unite, Vexalia continued, to condemn this act and bring the full might of the Council against the aggressors. It was then that the Crodarian ambassador, General Krovac, rose. His reptilian features were set in a sneer. We reject your authority, Counselor. The Zarquin have long been a threat to galactic stability. Their hive mind technology is an abomination. We are merely preempting a greater threat. Outrage erupted across the hall. Ilara watched as alliances fractured and reformed in real time. The Volthuri predictably called for neutrality. Smaller powers aligned themselves with whoever they thought would offer the best protection. As the debate raged, Ilara's neural link chimed with an incoming message. It was from Earth's Sol System Defense Command, marked highest priority. Admiral. The grim face of General Santiago appeared in her mind's eye. We have a situation. A Crodarian battle group has just entered the Sol System. They're demanding Earth's unconditional surrender and support in their crusade against the Zarquin. We have 1 hour to comply, or they say they'll demonstrate the power of their new weapon on Mars. Ilara's blood ran cold. She quickly relayed the information to her team and the Terran leadership. The implications were staggering. Humanity had maintained its neutrality by staying out of galactic conflicts, but now the war had come to their doorstep. As she processed this, the assembly hall erupted into chaos. The holographic display of Hive Prime flickered and died as the Worldbreaker unleashed its terrible power. Billions of Zarquin lives snuffed out in an instant. Ilara stood, her decision made. She strode to the central platform, ignoring the protests of more cautious diplomats. As she reached the center, she activated her own holographic projector, displaying the Crodarian ultimatum to Earth for all to see. Esteemed members of the Council, her voice cut through the din, amplified by the hall's acoustics. The Crodarian threat is not limited to the Zarquin. Even as we speak, they seek to coerce Earth into joining their mad crusade. They threaten to destroy Mars if we do not comply. A hush fell over the assembly. The human delegation had always been reserved, diplomatic. This bold move was unprecedented. Humanity has long valued its neutrality, seeing it as a path to peace, Ilara continued, her voice gaining strength. But there comes a time when neutrality becomes complicity. We cannot stand idle while worlds burn and innocents die. She turned, meeting the eyes of various delegates. The Crodarians believe they can bully younger races into submission. They think we lack the will or the strength to stand against them. They are wrong. Ilara's gaze locked with General Krovax. Humanity rejects your ultimatum. We will not bow to threats, and we will not abandon our principles. Moreover, we call upon all members of this council who still believe in justice to stand with us. The time for half measures and political maneuvering is over. As murmurs of support began to rise, Ilara delivered her final thrust. Let it be known that as of this moment, the Terran Confederation is at war with the Crodarian Empire. We fight not just for ourselves, but for every species threatened by their aggression. We fight for the very ideals this council was founded upon. The hall erupted into a mix of cheers, protests, and frantic discussions. Ilara stepped down from the platform, her heart racing. She had just committed humanity to its first interstellar war. As she rejoined her team, her neural link chimed again. It was Fleet Admiral Yamamoto, his holographic form appearing with a grim smile. Bold move, Admiral Chen. The Security Council has ratified your declaration. Operation Awakening is now in effect. Ilara's eyes widened. Operation Awakening. I'm not familiar with that protocol. Yamamoto's smile turned predatory. That's because it's been classified at the highest levels for decades. You've just activated humanity's hidden teeth, Admiral. The Crodarians thought they were poking a sleeping bear. They're about to find out they've awakened a giant. As the implications sank in, Ilara realized that humanity's carefully cultivated image of a young, neutral race was about to be shattered. The galaxy was in for a shock. The sleeping giant was not just awake, it was ready for war. Awakening. The next 48 hours were a whirlwind of activity across human space. Operation Awakening, it turned out, was far more than just a military response. It was the unveiling of humanity's carefully hidden capabilities and preparations. Admiral Ilara Chen found herself back on Earth in a top-secret facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. She stood in awe as blast doors larger than battleships slowly ground open, revealing cavernous hangars filled with ships unlike anything she had ever seen. "Welcome to Prometheus Base, Admiral," said General Adebayo, the architect of Operation Awakening. "What you're seeing is the culmination of a century of reverse engineering, innovation, and preparation." Row upon row of sleek, predatory vessels filled the underground dock. Their designs were clearly inspired by various alien technologies, but there was something uniquely human in their execution. Ilara recognized elements from a dozen different species, all seamlessly integrated into cohesive, lethal packages. How is this possible?" Ilara asked, her usual composure shaken. "The resources required, the secrecy." Adebayo smiled grimly. "Humanity has always excelled at compartmentalization, Admiral. While our public shipyards produced trader vessels and diplomatic ships, these facilities, and others like them around Earth and our core colonies, worked tirelessly. We took inspiration from every species we encountered, improved upon their designs, and created something new. As they walked through the facility, Ilara's neural link provided her with a constant stream of data. The ships before her outclassed known Prodarian vessels in nearly every metric. More shocking were the weapons systems, innovations that skirted the edge of Galactic Council regulations without technically violating them. The Titan-class dreadnoughts, Adebayo explained, pointing to the largest ships, incorporate Volthuri energy manipulation tech with Zarquin hive mind interfaces. They can coordinate entire battle groups with efficiency that would make a Prodarian general weep. Ilara's mind raced. The trade delegations, the cultural exchanges, it wasn't just diplomacy, was it? We were gathering intelligence technologies. Adebayo nodded. Humanity's greatest strength has always been its ability to learn, adapt, and improve. We took the best the galaxy had to offer and made it our own. As they reached a central command hub, Ilara saw the true scope of Operation Awakening. Holographic displays showed similar facilities activating across human space, fleets that had been hidden in gas giants or camouflaged as asteroid fields were emerging, assembling into battle formations. But why? Ilara asked. Why prepare on this scale if we truly sought peace? A new voice answered, Fleet Admiral Yamamoto, entering the command center. Because, Admiral Chen, we knew this day would come. Humanity's history is rife with conflict. We hoped for the best but prepared for the worst. The galaxy is old, filled with ancient grudges and species that view younger races as pawns or prey. We could not afford to be naive. Ilara absorbed this, a mix of emotions churning within her. Pride at humanity's foresight and capabilities warred with a sense of betrayal. Had her diplomatic efforts been merely a front? As if sensing her thoughts, Yamamoto placed a hand on her shoulder. Your work, Admiral, was crucial. You and every other diplomat, trader, and cultural attaché were our eyes and ears. The relationships you built, the trust you earned, they'll be more valuable than ever in the coming conflict. Alarms blared suddenly, cutting off further conversation. A lieutenant rushed up, his face pale. Sirs, we're receiving reports from the Sol Defense Fleet. The Prodarians have begun their attack on Mars. The command center burst into action. Holographic displays shifted, showing the unfolding battle in Mars orbit. The Sol Defense Fleet, composed of ships familiar to the galactic community, was putting up a valiant but ultimately doomed fight against the superior Prodarian forces. They think they've caught us unprepared, Yamamoto said, his voice cold. It's time to disabuse them of that notion. General Adebayo, you have permission to launch Operation Thunderbolt. Adebayo nodded grimly and began issuing orders. Throughout Prometheus Base and its sister facilities across human space, pilots raced to their ships. Engineers made final checks on systems that had been waiting decades for this moment. Ilara watched in awe as the massive hangar doors began to open, revealing the star-studded sky above. The first wave of human ships, a mix of interceptors, destroyers, and the imposing Titan-class dreadnoughts, rose silently into the night. Admiral Chen, Yamamoto said, turning to her, I have new orders for you. You're to take command of the Titan-class TSS Humanity's Hope. Your mission is twofold: relieve Mars and send a message to the Prodarians, and the galaxy at large, that humanity is not to be trifled with. Ilara straightened, years of training kicking in, despite her shock at the day's revelations. Understood, sir, and our rules of engagement. Yamamoto's eyes were hard. The Prodarians fired the first shot, Admiral. They've employed planet killers against the Zarquin and threatened the same against us. As of now, you are authorized to use any and all means necessary to protect human lives and interests. Show them the error of waking the sleeping giant. As Ilara saluted and turned to leave, Adebayo called out, "Admiral Chen, one last thing." He handed her a small device. "This contains the activation codes for some of our more unconventional weapon systems. Use them wisely." Ilara nodded, her mind already racing with strategies and possibilities. As she strode towards the shuttle that would take her to the humanity's hope, she felt the weight of history on her shoulders. Humanity had hidden its strength for a century, playing the part of the young, neutral species. Now, that mask was coming off. The Crodarians, and indeed the entire galaxy, were about to learn that humanity was far more than they appeared. The sleeping giant was awake, armed, and ready for battle. As the shuttle lifted off, carrying her towards her new command, Ilara allowed herself a grim smile. The Crodarians had no idea what they had unleashed, but they were about to find out. The first strike. The TSS Humanity's Hope dropped out of FTL on the outskirts of the Martian orbit, its massive form dwarfing the nearby Deimos. Admiral Ilara Chen stood on the bridge, her posture rigid as she surveyed the battlefield before her. The scene was grim. The Sol Defense Fleet, Earth's known military force, was in tatters. Broken ships and debris clouded the orbital lanes around Mars. The Crodarian fleet, a menacing array of biomechanical monstrosities, pressed their advantage, their weapons leaving scars across the red planet's surface. "Status report," Ilara commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding before them. Her XO, Commander Yuki Tanaka, responded crisply. "The Crodarian fleet outguns the remaining Sol Defense forces 3-1. They've established a beachhead on Olympus Mons and are moving to secure the major dome cities. The Worldbreaker is holding position behind Phobos, charging its main weapon." Ilara's mind raced, formulating a plan. "All right. Priority 1 is neutralizing that Worldbreaker before it can fire. Deploy stealth corvettes Phantom and Wraith. Have them execute Operation Trojan Horse." As her orders were relayed, Ilara turned to the ship's AI interface. "Athena, initiate fleet-wide neural link. Broadcast on all Titan-class command frequencies." The A's holographic form shimmered into existence. "Neural link established, Admiral. You're connected to all 5 Titan-class vessels in the battle group." Ilara closed her eyes, feeling the familiar rush as her consciousness expanded, connecting with the other ship captains and their crews. When she spoke, her words resonated across the entire human fleet. "This is Admiral Chen. The Crodarians believe they caught humanity unprepared. They thought they were swatting an insignificant fly. It's time to show them how wrong they are. Execute Battle Plan Leonidas." Across the star system, hidden human ships decloaked and sprung into action. Sleek destroyers and cruisers, their hulls gleaming with technologies the galaxy had never seen, emerged from the shadows of planets and asteroid fields. The Crodarian fleet, caught off guard by the sudden appearance of a superior force, scrambled to regroup. Their communications erupted with confusion and alarm. Ilara allowed herself a grim smile. "All ships, weapons free. Show them what humanity can do." The battle that unfolded over the next hour would be studied in war colleges across the galaxy for centuries to come. Human ships moved with a coordination and efficiency that seemed impossible, their neural-linked crews acting as one. Weapons that defied conventional understanding lashed out, tearing through Crodarian shields like paper. On the bridge of the Humanity's Hope, Ilara directed the symphony of destruction with cold precision. "Cruiser Group Theta, execute pincer movement on their left flank. Bomber Squadron Epsilon, I want that command ship disabled, not destroyed. We'll need the intel." As the tide of battle turned, Ilara received an urgent communication from the stealth corvettes. "Admiral, we've infiltrated the Worldbreaker, but we've encountered complications." Ilara's brow furrowed. "Explain." "The Worldbreaker, it's not just a weapon, ma'am. It's alive. Some kind of biomechanical hybrid. We can't shut it down without killing it, and if we do that, the resulting energy release could devastate Mars anyway." For a moment, Elara was silent, the weight of the decision heavy on her shoulders. Then her hand moved to the device General Adebayo had given her. Understood. Initiate Protocol Omega. I'm authorizing the use of the Nexus device. Across the neural link, she felt the shock and awe of her fellow captains. The Nexus device was perhaps humanity's greatest secret weapon, a device capable of creating localized wormholes. Untested in actual combat, its use came with significant risks. All ships clear a 500,000-kilometer radius around the Worldbreaker, Elara commanded. Corvette crews, you have 3 minutes to evacuate. Godspeed. As the human fleet pulled back, dragging disabled Crodarian ships with tractor beams, a small, unassuming probe detached from the Humanity's Hope. It streaked towards the Worldbreaker, its warp drive pushing it to impossible speeds. In the final seconds before impact, Elara whispered a quiet prayer. The probe struck the Worldbreaker, and for a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, reality itself seemed to tear. A swirling vortex of energy engulfed the Worldbreaker. Space twisted and warped, and with a silent flash that seemed to bend light itself, the massive weapon vanished. In its place was nothing but empty space and rapidly dispersing energy. Silence fell across the battlefield. The remaining Crodarian ships, witnessing the impossible destruction of their superweapon, froze in disbelief. Elara's voice, cold and resolute, broke the silence. Attention, Crodarian fleet. Your superweapon is gone. Your invasion force is in ruins. You have one chance to surrender unconditionally. If you refuse, we will demonstrate that what you just witnessed was merely the beginning of what we can do. For several tense moments, there was no response. Then, one by one, Crodarian ships began powering down their weapons. The Battle of Mars was over. As the human fleet moved to secure their prisoners and begin rescue operations for Mars, Elara allowed herself a moment of reflection. The sleeping giant was awake, and the galaxy would never be the same. But as reports of Crodarian attacks on other species began flooding in, she knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had revealed its hidden strength, but the real test was yet to come. The war for the galaxy's future had only just begun. Escalation. The weeks following the Battle of Mars were a whirlwind of activity across the galaxy. News of humanity's stunning victory over the Crodarians spread like wildfire, igniting a mixture of hope, fear, and suspicion among the various galactic powers. Admiral Elara Chen found herself once again in the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council, but this time, the atmosphere was markedly different. Gone were the whispers and sidelong glances. Now, all eyes were fixed firmly on the human delegation, a palpable tension filling the air. High Counselor Vexalia's ethereal form pulsed with barely contained emotion as she addressed the assembly. The events at Mars have changed things. Humanity has revealed capabilities far beyond what was previously known. This council demands an explanation. Elara stood, her posture confident but not arrogant. Esteemed members of the council, humanity has always valued peace and cooperation. But we are not naive. Our history taught us to hope for the best while preparing for the worst. The technology we unveiled was developed for one purpose, to defend not just ourselves, but all sentient life against existential threats. The Volthuri ambassador, Zixara, her crystalline form shimmering with agitation, interjected. And who decides what constitutes an existential threat? Your actions have upset the balance of power that has maintained peace for millennia. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. Elara's response was measured but firm. With all due respect, Ambassador, the peace you speak of was built on the oppression of younger races and the threat of mutually assured destruction. The Crodarians' actions proved the fragility of that system. We offer a new path forward, one of genuine cooperation and shared defense. As debate raged in the council chambers, Elara's neural link chimed with an urgent message from Earth. Fleet Admiral Yamamoto's grim face appeared in her mind's eye. Admiral Chen, We have a situation. The Crodarians have launched simultaneous attacks on a dozen worlds, including several neutral species. They're using some kind of quantum entanglement device to coordinate faster-than-light strikes. We need you back here immediately. Ilara's blood ran cold. The Crodarians were escalating, pushing the galaxy towards all-out war. She quickly excused herself from the council session and boarded her ship, the Humanity's Hope. As they raced back to Earth, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The Zarquin, still reeling from the destruction of their homeworld, were mounting a desperate defense of their remaining colonies. The Volfuri, despite their proclaimed neutrality, were quietly fortifying their borders. Smaller species were either choosing sides or attempting to hunker down and weather the coming storm. Upon reaching Earth, Ilara was immediately ushered into a high-level briefing with the Terran Security Council. The atmosphere was tense, the faces of Earth's leaders grim. The Crodarians are pushing for total galactic dominance, General Adebayo explained, gesturing to a holographic map of known space. Red indicators showing Crodarian attacks blinked across its expanse. They're not just targeting military installations. They're going after civilian populations, industrial centers, anything that could support resistance. Fleet Admiral Yamamoto nodded sullenly. We've received distress calls from a dozen species, some we've never even had direct contact with. They've heard about what happened at Mars. They're begging for our help. Ilara studied the map, her mind racing. We can't fight this war alone, no matter how advanced our technology. We need allies. The president of the Terran Confederation, a woman named Dr. Aisha Patel, spoke up. Agreed, but we must be cautious. Our sudden reveal of advanced technology has made many potential allies wary. They fear we might become the next Crodarians. Ilara thought for a moment, then an idea struck her. What if we don't just fight this war, but change how wars are fought? We have technologies that could minimize casualties, protect civilians. If we demonstrate that our goal isn't conquest, but genuine protection. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Then slowly, nods of agreement began to spread. It's risky, Yamamoto said, but it could work. We'll need to move fast, though. Every moment we delay, more worlds fall to the Crodarians. Dr. Patel stood, her decision made. Admiral Chen, we're entrusting you with humanity's fate, and perhaps the fate of the galaxy. You'll lead our diplomatic and military efforts. Your mission is to build a coalition capable of stopping the Crodarians, while showcasing humanity's commitment to a new kind of warfare, one that prioritizes the protection of all sentient life. Ilara saluted, the weight of her new responsibility settling on her shoulders. As she left the briefing room, her mind was already formulating plans. They would need to strike a delicate balance, demonstrating strength while assuaging fears, fighting a war while building trust. Back aboard the Humanity's Hope, Ilara addressed her crew, and through the neural link, the captains of humanity's hidden fleet. We stand at a crossroads, she began, her voice steady and resolute. The galaxy is burning, and we have the power to stop it. But victory alone is not enough. We must show the galaxy a better way forward. Every decision we make, every battle we fight, will shape the future of not just humanity, but all sentient life. As the Humanity's Hope prepared to jump to its first destination, a besieged Zarquin colony, Ilara felt a mix of determination and trepidation. The coming days would test humanity like never before. They had awoken as a sleeping giant, but now they needed to prove they could be a gentle one. The war for the galaxy's future was escalating, and humanity was thrust into the center of the storm. The choices they made now would echo across the cosmos for millennia to come. Resolution. The galactic war raged for months, a conflagration that threatened to consume civilization itself. Across countless star systems, the Crodarian war machine clashed with a hastily assembled coalition led by humanity. It was a conflict unlike any the galaxy had seen before, with humanity's advanced technology and unorthodox tactics changing the very nature of interstellar warfare. Admiral Ilara Chen stood on the bridge of the Humanity's Hope, her eyes fixed on the holographic display of the latest battlefront. The coalition fleet, a patchwork armada of human ships and vessels from 24 allied species, faced off against the largest Crodarian battle group yet encountered. Status report, Ilara commanded, her voice steady despite the tension palpable in the air. Commander Yuki Tanaka responded crisply, "Coalition forces are holding the line, Admiral. The Zarquin hive ships are coordinating our smaller vessels with unprecedented efficiency. Volfuri energy shields are keeping civilian populations safe on the planet below." Ilara nodded, a grim smile playing on her lips. It had been a long, hard road to forge this alliance. Trust had been built not just through words, but through actions. Humanity had shared some of its technological advances, taught its allies new ways of waging war that prioritized the protection of innocent life. In return, they had gained not just military allies, but partners in building a new galactic order. "The Crodarians are pushing hard on our left flank," Yuki continued. "They're trying to break through to the civilian evacuation corridors." Ilara's eyes narrowed. "Not on our watch. Divert the Titan-class TSS Peacekeeper to reinforce that sector, and prepare the Nexus device." A hush fell over the bridge at the mention of humanity's most powerful and controversial weapon. The Nexus device, capable of creating localized wormholes, had been used sparingly throughout the war, its destructive potential too great for casual deployment. As the battle raged on, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Coalition forces were pushing back Crodarian advances on multiple fronts. Species that had been bitter enemies for millennia now fought side by side against a common threat. It was a transformation that would have been unthinkable mere months ago. Suddenly, an urgent communication came through. It was from the Meridian High Command, the eldest race in the galaxy and recent additions to the coalition. "Admiral Chen, our deep space sensors have detected something unprecedented, a massive energy surge from the direction of Crodarian space. We believe they're preparing to activate some kind of superweapon." Ilara's blood ran cold. Intelligence reports had hinted at a Crodarian doomsday project, but nothing concrete had ever been found. "Can you get me visuals?" she asked. The holographic display shifted, showing a distant star system deep in Crodarian territory. At its center, a massive structure was taking shape, drawing energy directly from the system's star. It was a weapon platform of unimaginable power, capable of striking targets across the galaxy instantaneously. "If that thing comes online," Ilara murmured, "everything we fought for will be for nothing." She made her decision in an instant. "All coalition forces, this is Admiral Chen. We've located the Crodarian superweapon. I'm initiating Operation Endgame. All available ships converge on these coordinates." As the coalition fleet regrouped for this final desperate assault, Ilara opened a channel to the Crodarian High Command. "Attention Crodarian leaders. We know about your superweapon. You have one chance to stand down and surrender. If you activate that weapon, we will have no choice but to respond with everything we have." The response came swiftly, filled with the typical Crodarian bravado. They would never surrender, they claimed. The galaxy would kneel before them or burn. Ilara closed her eyes, feeling the weight of countless lives on her shoulders. When she opened them again, they were filled with steely determination. "Very well, you've made your choice." The battle that followed would be remembered for generations as one of the most epic engagements in galactic history. The coalition fleet, outnumbered but fighting with the desperation of those protecting everything they held dear, clashed with the Crodarian armada. Ilara directed the battle with a mixture of tactical brilliance and audacious gambles. Humanity's advanced ships led the charge, their weapons tearing through Crodarian defenses. Zarquin hive ships coordinated swarms of fighters with inhuman precision. Volfuri cruisers unleashed barrages of energy that warped space itself. But the Crodarians fought with the ferocity of cornered beasts. Their super weapon continued to power up, its energy readings climbing to terrifying levels. In the heat of the battle, Ilara made her final fateful decision. "Prepare all Nexus devices for simultaneous detonation," she commanded. "Target the Crodarian superweapon." The risk was enormous. Using multiple Nexus devices at once had never been attempted. The resulting space-time disruption could have catastrophic, unpredictable consequences. As the Coalition fleet cleared the blast zone, Ilara gave the order. For the future of the galaxy, fire. The Nexus devices activated in perfect synchronization. For a moment, it seemed as if reality itself held its breath. Then, with a silent flash that seemed to bend light itself, a massive wormhole engulfed the Crodarian superweapon and a significant portion of their fleet. The resulting gravitational shockwave rippled across the star system, causing sensors to overload and communications to go dark. For several agonizing minutes, the Coalition fleet waited in tense silence. When the sensors finally came back online, the sight that greeted them was astounding. Where the Crodarian superweapon had been, there was now nothing but empty space. A significant portion of the Crodarian fleet had vanished along with it. The remaining Crodarian ships, witnessing the impossible destruction of their last hope, began to power down their weapons. Across the galaxy, reports flooded in of Crodarian forces surrendering en masse. As the realization of victory settled in, cheers erupted across the Coalition fleet. But Ilara remained sullen, knowing that the hard work of building a lasting peace was just beginning. In the months that followed, the galaxy underwent a transformation. The Coalition, forged in the crucible of war, became the foundation for a new galactic federation. Humanity, once seen as a young, naive species, now stood as a central pillar of this new order. Ilara, hailed as the architect of victory, found herself at the forefront of these changes. As she stood before the inaugural session of the Galactic Federation Council, she reflected on the long journey that had brought them to this point. "We gather here today not as conquerors, but as partners," she began, her voice carrying across the assembled representatives of 100 species. "The war forced us to confront hard truths about ourselves and each other. It showed us the cost of division and the power of unity. As we move forward, let us remember the lessons learned, the sacrifices made, and the bonds forged in the crucible of conflict." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the chamber. "The sleeping giant has awakened, but not to dominate. Humanity extends its hand in friendship and cooperation. Together, we can build a galaxy where the rights of all sentient beings are protected, where knowledge is shared, and where the horrors of war become nothing more than a distant memory." As applause filled the chamber, Ilara allowed herself a small smile. The road ahead would not be easy, but for the first time in millennia, the galaxy faced the future united. The sleeping giant had awakened not to conquer, but to protect and nurture. And in doing so, it had changed the course of galactic history forever. The end of the war marked not just a victory, but the dawn of a new era. An era of cooperation, discovery, and shared progress. As Ilara looked out at the sea of diverse faces before her, she knew that the true adventure was just beginning.